Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Disability Landscape. I'm your host, Charlie Bros, and with me as usual,
Yeah.
my co-host Mark Knutson. He's going to tell us who we got today.
Yeah, our guest today, I'm really looking forward to catching up and talking with. It's someone that I've known for years, probably could even say maybe a few decades. I'm not gonna, I'll just leave it at that. But Manny's had a lot, his name is Manny Guerra, and he's had a lot of success in sled hockey and in wheelchair softball. And Charlie's shaking his head, so I said the last name wrong, correct?
I was going to correct you. Yeah, it's Guerra.
Guerra, okay.
But hey, Mark, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're right. I think it's been a couple decades.
Right, that last time that we were playing
yeah.
softball together.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that, so.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, Mark was just shortstop, not actually playing the ball. He just sat there short and stopped things.
I guess we'll definitely get into all the, especially talking about the stuff here and that, but, talk a little bit first about it's always interesting to know about someone's, disability and if you're originally from the Twin Cities, if not, kind of all the before stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm transplanted. I'm not originally from the cities, but I was born in Chicago.
Okay.
And I contracted polio. Not 100% sure how, but it coincided with the vaccine. So it was a live virus back then.
Oh, okay.
And it was obviously way after the epidemic,
Sure.
68.
Yeah.
And, but they still delivered a live virus vaccine. So my mom, or I think my dad said I won the lottery in reverse, like
Right.
1 in a million, But, I contracted polio and then eventually, dealt with my disability, obviously till this day, right, through my childhood. But it really was, I'd come up here for the summers, and I loved Minnesota. I loved Minneapolis.
Oh, so you'd come here for the summers?
Yeah, I had family up here.
Family up, okay.
So when I finished college and, needed to figure out what I was going to do next, my sister opened her door and said, hey, come up to Minnesota, hang out, see if you like it.
Okay.
And I've never left since then. So I've been up here since '88. So it's been a long time.
So
Jeez.
that would be about is that then when you got involved?
Yeah.
I was going to say that's about the time.
Yeah.
I think we
early
met.
early '90s. So when I moved up here, I kind of bounced around a little bit. Got my career started in IT. And then one day, just like I should probably find a rehab place that I can just continue treatment with the doctor. And, I'm getting older.
Oh, okay.
So that's when I reached out to or found Sister Kenny Institute, and eventually met Dr. Richard Owen, who also had polio. So he was my therapy. He was my orthopedic doctor.
Oh, geez.
So imagine, and if you remember him, he was an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Very fiery.
Yes, I played wheelchair basketball a lot with Doc, and I thought it was always interesting too because I forget how long ago it had been, but there was the time when they had to reissue all the handicap placards,
Yeah.
so you had to get your doctor
Yeah.
to sign it. I think Doc could have just retired on that money right
Yeah.
there because everyone,
True story.
he was the doc for all of us.
True story. But he's the one that kind of opened my eyes to disability sport as an option or something else to do.
And he was director, I believe.
Yeah,
At Abbott?
at Sister Kenny.
At Sister
Yeah,
Kenny, yeah.
He was like the head orthopedic surgeon for a long time, and,
Wow.
and eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, he did other things as his career advanced and he got older. But
Right.
but he's the one that had learned my story and learned a lot of the things I used to do when in Chicago. Play able-bodied basketball, hang out with my friends, stay out till midnight shooting ball,
Right.
playing tennis, whatever. And he just naturally said, hey, we could do the same stuff. Probably a little bit more effectively, a little bit more competitively, sitting in a wheelchair, and I didn't want anything to do with it at first. I was like, I'm good, So here I'm going through the hallways, and I'm doing my thing, limping around, and with and it never really was an option for me. Like in my head, it really just wasn't me. But what happened is and he did this for years, and so then one day I hurt my back. I was in a car accident. and it just wiggled my spine a certain way, and I was hurt. So I was going now to actual back therapy, and he'd keep in touch with me, like, how's the back doing? But I kind of fell into a depression because I wasn't able to play ball anymore, go outside with the guys, and
Right, yeah.
and so I really kind of just like fell into this little pit. And my wife, at the time, Deb, she went and got me a handicap placard without me knowing. So she just went and got one,
Okay.
and she gave it to me. We were going to the grocery
Was it
store.
like a birthday gift?
It was like, man,
Happy anniversary.
I know you're a proud guy, but you're hurting right now, and you got to walk these long distances. Let's make it easy. And she gave me the placard, and I was like, and that actually was the first time that I accepted. I accepted my disability since I was a kid, right? I didn't know any better, but to accept it in that
Right.
manner, and here's a service that the government, the city, the county provides a free, a parking spot that's
Right,
not
right.
closer.
Yeah.
And so I took it, and I started using it. And then next thing you know, Doc comes around again and says, hey, wheelchair, this Thursday, come on out. Wheelchair basketball. I'm like, okay. So then so just out of nowhere, let's do it. And somebody, somebody lent me a chair, or someone got me a chair.
Right.
And I jumped in it. Never been in a chair for sports. I've been in chairs for therapy. I've had
That's what I was going to say. Otherwise, you were walking on your legs all the time.
Yeah, I've had 21 surgeries.
That's the other mental tough part, is
Yeah.
people having a hard time accepting that wheelchair.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't have a problem with the therapy part of it because I had 21 surgeries growing up, so I've been in and out of hospitals my entire so
Yeah.
so being in a chair to me wasn't that big of a deal, but to use it on a platform to compete and to play, that was interesting to me. That's something I never experienced before.
Right.
And so we started playing ball. We started going back and forth, up and down. I started getting the hang of it, seeing how they did a layup, how they did a set shot, their screens, and so it just kind of all of a sudden the lines started blurring.
Chuckles watching you when you just started.
Yeah, the lines started blurring. It was just basketball. And I remember one time I was going up for a layup as best as I could, right? Fairly new to the chair. And as I'm bringing it up around, I just get raked across the arms. It was a hard foul, right? And I could hear one of the guys, yell foul, and I look over and it's Doc. Doc actually, he had these big goggles on with the bushy eyebrows, and he just raked me hard across, and I was just like, and it was Doc.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And that's when I was like, oh my God, he just transformed into this competitive beast.
He does.
And I was like, and then I was hooked after that look and after that experience. It just like, wow, I want to see where this takes me.
Yeah,
And then the rest is history after that.
you get, that it kind of flips the switch when you're out there.
Yeah.
I can go years without playing in a sport, but then the minute I get out there, everybody hates me.
Yeah.
Because I want to win, and I'm going to play, I'm going to do whatever I can, even if I can't move the speed I used to.
Yeah. So that turned into my Thursday night activities, and eventually I met.
Was that Thursday night down at Sister Kenny?
Sister Kenny.
Yeah, because
downtown. Yeah.
I remember coming down there on Friday nights, and that it always cracked me up playing at Sister Kenny because it's part of Abbott Northwestern Hospital.
Yeah.
So you had the speaker system of Abbott. So as we're playing, all of a sudden you could hear Dr. Blue, Dr. Blue. You're like,
or you could hear Code Red,
the Code
you
Red.
would hear the codes. Yeah, I remember that.
And then as the years went on, we were concerned we might have to have a Code Red in the gym there and that.
Yeah,
so.
no, it was every time I go back there once in a while. Not so much for myself, but if I have family members at the hospital, and you go, I always stroll through that area, and I think the gym is gone now. I think
you're right.
I think they converted it.
I've heard that. Yeah.
But there was many times where I would just wheel by through that hallway, and that hallway is synonymous for a lot of things. But I'd take that little stroll down the hallway, and I just I'd get flashbacks, and kind of be thankful
especially for you,
and then just be thankful that I was able to bump into so many cool people, and people that became really good friends over the years. Yeah.
So after the Thursday nights, the basketball and all that, you picked up a couple other sports.
Yeah, as I got to know the other guys, hey, come and try this, tennis, I tried softball.
Yeah, you try them all.
And I tried them all, and I fell in love with softball first. I think I started playing in 1991, so about 2-3 years after.
Okay, yeah.
And I fell in love with it. And I was like, it was the guys were cool, and it was competitive, right? And at that time, there was some really good teams. I started with the Gophers. We had a powerhouse team in St. Paul,
Sure.
known as the St. Paul Thunder, and it's I think back to that particular moment when I first started playing softball, wheelchair softball. It just felt right, and so as things keep progressing, I eventually found another sport on the ice called sled hockey.
Uh-huh.
And it's called sledge hockey. Back in the day, it was called sledge hockey internationally. Sledge meaning sled.
Right.
And we just converted it to sled because it makes sense, right? It still doesn't make sense because it's hard to picture. And now it's called para ice hockey internationally. And again, very similar situation. I just happened to be at Sister Kenny, and there was a gentleman there that his name was John Schatzline, and he was reviewing some video on VHS, and I happened to be wheeling by that same hallway to go to the gym. I was going to go play wheelchair basketball, and I look over and I see these guys sitting on sleds, moving around with their arms, and these modified hockey sticks, and I just made a right turn and went right into his office and just sat there and watched it. I didn't even say anything to him. He didn't say anything to me, and he just kind of was looking at me. You could tell I was intrigued by what I was looking at. And I said, hey, I'm Manny, and he introduced himself. I'm John, and we just started a team last year. I'm like, I want to try that, and that's how we met. Just purely by coincidence.
Now, Mark tried it also. Do you have any info on that?
So,
do you have any insights?
I'm trying to remember. We were on the ice together.
We were. There are so many guys.
Yeah, there was a lot,
and women that have tried it. That
what I thought the most interesting thing I learned. Now this is going to sound strange from the sledge hockey is that the difference between nicely zamboni ice and I always thought that doesn't make
that makes a difference.
It did because a lot of the practices we didn't have a zamboni, but at one time they asked, "Hey, do you guys want us to zamboni?" And they did it. I'm like, well, that's not.
No, and sometimes it's
different.
You
just glide.
Right, and sometimes it's a timing thing. Like, do you want to take advantage of a full 60 minutes of ice versus 45?
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes we would skip.
Yeah, you would exactly right. So a lot of times we would skip.
Right. So somebody get off the ice and like, no, we want the full hour. You don't have the zamboni, and we'd get on the ice and it's all chopped up.
I think for us the previous group had finished early, unbelievably, they finished early, so they got a zamboni in there, and I was just like, man, I'm never going to go through this again.
But I do, like, to your point, right, there's so many people that in my career that I've come across that influence me in one way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
I've had so when I first started playing sled hockey, it was a club, right? We were the first club in the entire United States, and we were called the North Stars. Right?
Sure.
We reached out to the North Stars at the time, and they were super cool. They gave us equipment. They didn't give us any money, but they gave us some equipment.
Yeah.
They gave us some connections here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And that club, amazing bunch of guys. Like, some of them went on to continue to be Paralympic teammates of mine.
Right, that's what I remember seeing that.
And some of them didn't. They faded over time. But that initial imprint that those guys made, and the time, and the coaches that helped, all we did was do clinics around the country, and we started sparking interest in Wisconsin and down in Dallas, over out east.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that club was dear to me because it was not only my first experience with the sport, but we did a lot of work. We put a lot of community effort into getting the word out. And that's where it started.
Why don't you just discuss, because we got a picture of the sled hockey, just a little bit about the sled itself.
Yeah, so the sled itself, there's two versions of the sled, and there's some pictures that
Sure.
I'd
Right.
like to share with you.
Yeah.
But the first, let me talk about my sled. So
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
my dilemma was when I was in the crease. You know,
Because you were a goalie.
yeah, traditional.
Someone has to do it.
Yeah, so a traditional sled, you have a bucket system here, and your butt's here, and then your legs go forward. And if you're an amputee, a single amp or double, whatever, right, spinal
Yeah.
cord injury, your legs are extended out. Well, as a goalie, there's just too much room in front to block a shot straight on. So yeah, I would always have to sit sideways, you know, put my feet this way and then face the shot. I'm like, that doesn't work for me. So I came up with the idea of shortening the sled to roughly about, 2.5, 3 feet?
Yeah.
And then being able to cross my legs and put my entire, knees and
So you would sit
ankles,
on
yeah.
this.
Yeah, so I'd be sitting here.
Facing.
I'd be facing that way.
Oh, you would be facing
and then
that way.
And then
Okay.
I'd cross my legs, right, and then bolt them into position. Strap them into position, and that allowed me to actually face the shot. It allowed me to lean forward and put the stick on the ice in front.
Right.
It allowed me a lot of things that I couldn't do before. And then if you look at the sled, every sled in sled hockey has a skate system. You can see it's just channel aluminum with 2 blades.
Okay.
Right. And so the other thing that I didn't like was I couldn't move laterally like a goalie could. So
Right.
a goalie can slide across, kick, come back, go post to post, no issue. I couldn't do it with this.
Yeah.
So it took me 10 years, but I eventually came up with a system that allowed me to combine plastic ice or synthetic ice and put it on the blade. And this is a prototype, but this literally would fit in here.
Oh, okay.
And then once it's in there, it would allow me to float on the ice laterally and at the same
So
time,
float however you want to
yeah,
float.
and then still leverage the blade on the outside. So if
Oh, you could still leverage
yeah,
the
so if you
blade.
see that,
Okay.
so
Oh, I see what
yeah,
you're
so
saying.
that allowed me to float on top, and then if I went on edge, so if I
leaned into
if I leaned into this, I could grab ice.
grab ice. Then.
So that's how I changed that. And this is just a prototype. The actual version I came up with eventually was a single sheet of plastic for each blade, and then I positioned the blades on the outside. So it looked like just a half-inch strip of plastic with a blade on the outside.
Okay, so greater maneuverability, which is
Yeah.
key for the goalie.
Yeah. So over time, I changed the game in a lot of different ways. That's so that's the goalie sled. The other thing that I struggled with is John Schatzline. He gave me a catcher's glove, goalie catcher's glove, mitt, whatever you want to call it. And he had, when you go ice fishing, the aluminum toe straps that you put on the front of your shoes.
Oh, gotcha.
And it had just metal shards sticking out, so they punch holes through it. And so what I did is, again, it took me 3, 4, 5 years to figure out a system.
Right.
It would get full of ice, and it was heavy, and it was rusted out, and you had
Oh.
bolts sticking through it.
Yeah.
So I literally just took the flap of a glove, and I took a track shoe, and I just kind of shaved everything down until the plastic, where the spikes are inserted,
Okay.
and then I just stitched that into position. So I came up with that idea.
So
And then,
use that to give you your track.
yeah, so then I would put my different size spikes in there, and I could use that as traction to move forward and back. And how I moved forward and back on my right side is I had the goalie stick. So this is the
Okay.
goalie stick. So I came up with this little contraption here. They call it the Guerra pick. It's just a half moon. So not only somebody else came up with the goalie stick design, and I just enhanced it by putting a pick here and then a pick on the end. And so what that allowed me to do was to kind of do this. It allowed me to put the blade down and tilt it if I needed to pivot, go left or right, right?
Okay.
And if I needed to move forward, come out like this. If I needed to quickly stop, I could put that Guerra pick on the front and have
Okay,
me
yeah.
freeze, right? So,
Yeah.
so over time, you just kind of adapt, right?
Okay.
You figure out what's wrong with the sport and how you make it better. So this was my contribution, three contributions to the game. And then a regular sled is just that, but extended.
Extended.
And then we use this is a newer composite stick. Back in the day, this would have been just ash wood,
Okay.
and you could see that It has an insert, so now the guys can actually, if they break this, they can just heat this up and swap
Oh,
this.
gotcha.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, but now they're one pieces too, and then the picks are still the same, right? So the picks are still, this design hasn't changed much. There's a slight variation of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is how we grab the ice. So we have two sticks, left and right, and that's a cross-country stroke, right? And that's how, and you can get, with these composites now, you can probably get, I mean, we had guys shooting in the high 80s, right, with a puck, right, with one hand. So it's not a little a little wrister.
So-
it's a heavy shot.
So with this being the equipment change, are there rules, modifications?
Yeah, there's height measurements. There's measurements and
Oh, for the sled and all
just
your
yeah, just like in the NHL, right? They measure the equipment,
Oh, gotcha,
the pads,
okay.
the width, everything. We also have rules and measurements for sled hockey, right?
Okay.
The height, the diameter, the pads. Goalies. Some goalies today wear one leg pad. I never did. I just wore defenseman shins and crossed my legs. Now the rules have changed that allow that they could actually put a pad on one leg, both legs.
Okay.
So it's crazy what goalies. I wish I had that opportunity back in the day, right?
Is there any, besides equipment standards and that, is there any, did they offsides and all that other stuff?
Yeah, all the rules are the same. The
All the
only
rules are the same,
only
right?
rule, we laugh because you can't. It's hard to go backwards, right, on a sled.
Yeah.
So we joke. We joke that there's no tripping in sled hockey,
Oh.
right? Because everybody's sitting down.
Right.
You're already down there,
Yeah.
so
So,
why
but
not?
but basically we play. The only variance would be in it as far as the period or the length of the period.
Okay.
Varies between local or club level versus international. Right.
Oh, I see.
But as far as everything else, the only other rule difference is, or penalty I should say, is if you hit somebody with a sled going at 90 degrees with the front of it,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called T-boning.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's kind of like saying timeout, but it's literally that's really the only difference.
Yeah.
Everything else is the same. And then I just want to say one thing. So in my career, I was with the program 16 years, and in 2001. We did this. We changed the width of the blades, and that is single-handedly, I think, why we won a gold medal in 2002, because we were a lot more maneuverable.
Oh, really?
Than some
and
of
you
the
guys
other
were the
teams.
only ones that had
Yeah,
that?
and nobody had seen that. Nobody had brought the blades closer than 3 inches.
And bringing it that much in?
Yeah, because
Gives you a lot more
it allows you, so this sits on the bottom of the bucket that you're sitting on. So this gives you a little bit more. It's easier to get on edge
Oh, okay.
than this, right? Which is a 3-inch
Yeah,
gap.
yeah.
Right.
So just the ability to get up on edge quicker.
And what does getting on the edge, how does that benefit you?
You can turn around people. You can scoot around people.
Oh, gotcha. Right, yeah.
Right. So, like, if you're a defenseman carrying the puck out of the zone, and you see somebody coming at you, you can kind of just give them that little 1-2 and get away from them. So that was our other contribution to the game as a team, the first country to actually bring the blades that close together, and they're even closer now. Right. So they're even closer now. There's actually, I think, 1 or 2 guys that skate on a single
I
blade.
was just saying, he's about almost going to
Yeah.
hit the point where it's just
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
That's
so,
got to be
so the game's
a real challenge.
It has, obviously, depending on your disability.
Yeah, your balance is
yeah.
gotta be really
Yeah.
good.
So, and the only thing I would say about the sport today, is, since day one when we started the Minnesota North Stars Club and how many teams we have today in the U.S., we have, I think, over 70 club teams, and we have a very strong national team program, both developmentally for men and women. There's a women's national team. So now all that is managed under USA Hockey, right? And so it's fun to see where it's grown to.
Okay.
And the U.S. has won, I don't know, the last 3 gold medals in the last Paralympics.
Okay.
So
If people are wanting to get involved in wheelchair softball, sled hockey, who should they?
Yeah,
who should they reach
so
out to?
the power of Google and social medias,
Yeah.
right? So it's fairly easy. If you're interested in participating in wheelchair softball, you can find us on Facebook under Minnesota Twins Wheelchair Softball. You can also find us on Instagram. We're known there as the Minnesota Rolling Twins.
Minnesota Rolling Twins.
And then if you want to hang out with me or talk to me, you can reach me directly. Probably the easiest is Instagram. It's under Manny Fresh _MSP. You know, that's my nickname. So,
Okay. Or you can come up, find the Rolling Twins and find
Yeah,
out
you can-
where the softball field is up in.
Correct, yeah.
Up in Brooklyn Park, so you could definitely come up there.
Yeah, you can
and
Google any of those programs are connected to
Okay.
either what's it called now? Kenny Courage.
Courage County.
Courage Kenny. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Well, great. It's been great catching up with you, Charlie.
Always.
Want to thank Manny Guerra, correctly spelled. My co-host Mark Knudsen. This has been another episode of Disability Landscape. I want to thank all of you for watching. We'll see you next time.